For all of our supposed differences, the reality is we're not different. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 2, the Torah portion, Tavo. Let's pick up where we left off yesterday, Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter number 26, verse 5. And you shall answer and say before Yahweh your Elohim, my father was a perishing Aramaean. He went down to Mitzrayim and sojourned there with a few men. And there he became a nation, great, mighty, and numerous. But the Mitzrites did evil to us, and afflicted us, and imposed hard labor on us. Then we cried out to Yahweh, Elohim of our fathers, and Yahweh heard our voice and saw our affliction, and our toil, and our oppression. Yahweh brought us out of Mitzrayim with a strong hand, with an outstretched arm, with great fear, and with signs and wonders. And he brought us to this place, has given us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now, see, I have brought the first fruits of the land which you, O Yahweh, have given me. And shall place it before Yahweh your Elohim, and bow down before Yahweh your Elohim, and shall rejoice in all the good which Yahweh your Elohim has given to you in your house, you and the Levite and the stranger who is among you. This Torah portion is written in a lot of ways about the prophetic days of entering into the land. And it has some immediate application then. But it is also speaking to us now. If we were to compare ourselves among ourselves, we would hear a variety of stories. Now, these stories I have solicited at times from various groups that I've been speaking to. Some came out of one denomination and then another. There are some Catholics, there's some Baptists and Pentecostals, and a little of everything. And sometimes there were people with no background whatsoever in any of that. But there's some commonality. Across the board, you will hear the first realizations about Shabbat. And I've often said, until you're willing to do Shabbat, you're not really going to be willing to do anything else. Shabbat is where it starts. It's when you recognize there is this particular set apart time that we are to be with Yah, and he wants that on a weekly basis. And that's the first command that he gave concerning time to Adam and Chava. The first command we see is be fruitful and multiply. But it says then that he created on the seventh day, he established Shabbat. And he's invited us to do Shabbat with him, to experience, to step into the place of Shabbat. If we're not willing to do that, there's no real compelling to do anything else either. So in this story about how we encounter Shabbat, and it becomes common among us, and we all nod our heads, yes, I remember those days. Yes, I remember how that affected me. Many will say, well, I started reading about the Feast of Yah, and why aren't we doing them? Others will say, well, it was the food issue or some other issue that really intrigued them. Another common thing is that people would be sitting in a worship setting and look at the heavens, look around, look at their feet, and ask the question, is this all there is? Is this it? We're not going to grow any further than where we are right now. And that question could be legitimately asked in some of our congregations now. Is this all there is? Are we just going to walk around this mountain again? But here we are. You may be in a different country, you may be in a different state, a different environment, but there is a lot of common ground among us. Many, many of us have dealt with the family issues and holiday issues and interpretation issues and congregational or small group setting upsets. We have those common among us. When we get to the land and we began to rehearse our stories. It very well may sound very similar to what we are reading here today, where each man who has a legacy and a lineage in Israel all have the same story. Regardless of their tribes, they are all attached to Yaakov, referenced here in this translation as a perishing Aramaean due to famine, who came down to Mitzrayim, few in number, exploded in growth, became a nation, suffered hardship, was mightily delivered, brought to the land, and now the land is working for us. And here's the evidence that I present before you, and I rejoice in our history. The thing about history is that when it's bad, you don't rejoice in the bad times. You're trying to survive. You're trying to get through. But when you get over on the other side of whatever the crisis and the trauma might be at that moment, there is time for rejoicing. We made it. We survived. We overcame. We learned. We persevered. Here, Israel, each man comes up and has the same testimony. The Jews have a funny way of putting it. They tried to kill us. We won. Let's eat. And no matter how many times I hear that, it's always worthy of a chuckle. But the sad reality is they did try to kill them. And many did die. And ultimately they do win. So let's celebrate. Let's rejoice. Yeshua warned us that perilous times would come. He warned us about deceptions that would be so great that many who should know better would likewise be deceived. False messiahs, wars, tragedies, natural disasters. We read in the prophets, we read in the book of Revelation about rising systems of oppression against the set apart ones. There is before us at some point, at some time, days of endurance that probably will do more than merely test us. It will push us, stress us, perhaps overwhelm us. And there may be those that we thought would never surrender, never yield, never quit, never die, that would do exactly that. In those moments, we have to keep in mind there is a testimony. There is a word. There is a moment that is in our future in the kingdom where we will stand before our Messiah and we will rehearse the common story among all of us. We were oppressed. We were stressed. We are in expectation of death. We had given up all hope of life. We were called to persevere and endure, and we did. By your grace and your grace alone, we did. And here we are, Master, with the first fruits of the ground that you have given to us. And we come rejoicing in your faithfulness and your loving kindness and your mercies. Perhaps there are those in this audience today, you've already been through the place where you were pressed beyond measure and stressed beyond the points of your limitations. And yet Yah is and has and will bring you through. That is a testimony for the rest of us. The book of Revelation chapter 12 says that they overcame him, that is the serpent, the dragon, Hasatan. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. At the end of that chapter, we read about how that war is made on those who keep the commandments of Yeshua and that have the testimony of Yeshua. Those two things are vital for us. We walk as Yeshua walked. We have the testimony that he and Yahweh, they are Echad. They are one and forever one. And the day of the kingdom is coming according to Zechariah 14:9, where his name will be one, and there will be one Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh on the earth, and he will be sovereign over all of the earth. In that day, I hope to stand in line with you with our first fruits and rejoice in the goodness of Yah. Until then, may we encourage each other, bear one another's burdens, cover each other in prayer to make sure we all get in that line. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, shalom.